Incredible encounter. Millionaire dad discovers homeless woman's touching truth on Christmas Eve. Jack Thompson adjusted his leather gloves as the icy wind whipped through the suburban neighborhood, twinkling lights reflecting off pristine sidewalks. His heart raced not from the chill but from the mounting pressure of expectations. He should be preparing for the grand holiday gala, his firm's marquee event, but he felt an undeniable weight on his chest, a looming sense of dread as Christmas approached. The holiday meant something different in their plush world of architecture and affluence. It was a stage set for perfection, where any misstep would lead to judgment. Little did he know, this season would confront him with a reality he had long sidestepped. "Dad, can we not go to the gala this year?" Emma's voice crackled with frustration, a stark contrast against the backdrop of fake snowflakes and oversized candy canes lining their driveway. She was 17, headstrong, and determined to pursue her own vision of the holidays beyond the confines of their meticulously curated lifestyle. "Emma, we've discussed this," Jack replied, his voice strained. "It's important for the firm. Connections matter." But as Emma's eyes narrowed in disbelief, anger flickered between them, a chasm widening that left him questioning the values he had instilled in her. He felt like a pretender in his own life, burdened beneath the weight of appearances while trying to uphold a facade that felt increasingly hollow. Driving home from a late meeting, Jack's mind raced. Figuring out how to strengthen his company while maintaining peace at home felt like scaling a mountain he never wanted to climb. He defaulted to thinking about profits and projects, but Emma's plea echoed incessantly in his mind. The guilt seeped into his restless conscience, rushing against his well-constructed beliefs. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The frigid air cut through his car's heater as he took a wrong turn, steering toward an unfamiliar street. His headlights flickered against the visage of an aging church adorned with remnants of former glory, the door slightly ajar. Something compelled him to stop. As he approached, he spotted a frail woman, her body seemingly cloaked in despair, huddled against the cold. "Can I help you?" he stammered, extending a hand he hoped contained confidence. Her name, Lily, floated into the air like a fragile leaf, laden with stories of despair and lost dreams. She began to speak, the beautiful intricacies of her past striking a chord with his soul, her voice reflecting struggles like his but devoid of privilege. It plucked the strings of his anxiety, forcing him to confront the reality he had long resisted. As he invited her to join his family for dinner, he hardly realized the gravity of his decision. It weighed heavily on his heart, a blend of kindness and confusion, mingling with a creeping unease that had no single identity. Inside, vibrant laughter contrasted sharply with the stark reality of the woman now seated at his dinner table. Lily shared intoxicating tales, but they ripped through Jack's carefully constructed ideals, revealing cracks in the foundation of his affluent life. Then came the revelation that sent his mind spiraling. Lily had once been a passionate artist and was the estranged sister of Thomas, a figure from Jack's past, his old college friend whose generous gesture was a family heirloom visible in their home. That heirloom, which symbolized status and success to Jack, felt like an anchor now dragging him into dark waters. The more they spoke, the more Jack confronted the realities of his choices, the judgments he passed, and the selfishness that obscured true connection and meaning. Inside the glow of his lavish house, both Emma and Lily looked at him curious, filled with hope. Would he acknowledge his drowning spirit, or would he silently cling to the affluent life he had built? Jack's pulse quickened, the room vibrated with tension. What would he choose in this pivotal moment? All he wanted was to run, to shield himself from the growing rift within his family, yet he found himself breathless, unable to escape the truth that loomed just beyond a fragile facade. Jack stared at the table, momentarily paralyzed by the tension coiling within him, marked by fear and aspiration. This was no ordinary dinner. As laughter bubbled up around him, its brightness felt jarring and intrusive against the weight of Lily's story. He forced himself to breathe steadily, yet each inhale felt like dragging stones through frosted air. Emma, his daughter, glanced at him expectantly, her enthusiasm contrasting sharply with the internal storm brewing inside him. Lily, tell us more about your art, Emma said, her voice radiating genuine curiosity. Jack shifted in his seat, trepidation dancing in his chest. Art, creativity, the very things that once lit him up now felt like remnants of a past he sacrificed on the altar of success. The conversation swirled around him, each revelation about Lily not only revealing her lost dreams but also forcing him to confront his own stagnant aspirations. As the evening unfolded, he noticed Lily's laughter was unadulterated, unfiltered. It filled the room with an energy he hadn't encountered in years. This was a woman unchained from the shackles of pretension, her vulnerability laid bare before them. He wondered if she could see the struggle in his eyes, the conflict between maintaining the facade of a successful architect and embracing the raw truth of his own discontent. "Tell me, Lily," he ventured hesitantly, "what did you used to paint?" Lily's gaze brightened, a flicker of life igniting in her tired eyes. "I painted dreams. Cityscapes, portraits of people lost in their own worlds. But they were never as beautiful as the ones I imagined." Her voice trailed off, and Jack could almost feel the warmth of her passion radiating like she had opened a window to a long-forgotten part of her soul. The conversation turned to Emma's own interests, weaving in and out of topics of art, ambition, and the nature of success. Yet, as Jack sat there, he felt increasingly like an observer. Each topic seemed to take him further from the person he once wanted to be, deeper into a fabricated existence where he had traded authenticity for acclaim. The thoughts nagged at him. He wanted to scream for her to hold on to those dreams, to chase that passion without hesitance. Instead, he remained paralyzed, bearing witness while feeling the crushing weight of unfulfilled dreams pressing down on him. "I wish I could paint again," Lily said, her eyes softening with the weight of the unfulfilled past. Jack's heart lurched. There it was, the crux of his struggle. Would he allow Lily's dreams to die out, or would he empower her to ignite them once more? Something shifted inside him. A flicker of the old Jack, the vigilant artist buried under layers of corporate armor. I know someone who can help you," he blurted, the words escaping before he could fully comprehend their implications. Both Emma and Lily turned toward him, surprise etched on their faces. Jack felt a surge of courage, but as quickly as it came, doubt flooded in. Who was he to make promises? Yet, buried beneath those reservations was a creeping realization: it was time to take action, to create meaning beyond what was meticulously constructed. What did his wealth mean if it brought no fulfillment, if it perpetuated a hollow existence? The room began to spin as the weight of his decision wrapped around him, binding his heart to both hopes and fears. It dawned on him that to revive Lily's artistic aspirations could very well awaken his own. Perhaps this opening was a chance for him to break free of his chains, to reforge connections based on authenticity rather than status. As phase shifts in his internal landscape marked a path of self-discovery, Jack caught Emma's eyes, sparkling with understanding and support. In that moment, he recognized a shared spirit between them, not just of blood, but of aspirations drifting in tandem like distant constellations. "What did I just say?" he murmured, more to himself than to anyone else, the gravity of his declaration pressing down like winter snow on thin branches. And there it was, the dawning realization: he had taken the first step into a new realm of possibility. But uncertainty gripped him tightly. The time had come to face the fragments of himself long buried. Would he embrace the artist within and disrupt the life he had known, or would fear drag him back into the enveloping darkness of his carefully crafted reality? The evenings that followed were marked by an electric tension that coursed through Jack's daily life. He oscillated between anxiety and a flickering hope, brooding over his sudden commitment to help Lily reignite her artistic passion. Each time he passed by his studio where canvases lay forgotten like ghosts of his former self, he felt a churn in his stomach, as if a part of him was awakening, demanding attention. Days turned into a blur of work meetings and late nights. Jack immersed himself in architectural plans, yet his mind lazily drifted to thoughts of art and expression. He could no longer isolate himself behind spreadsheets and blueprints without feeling an irksome itch, as if something vital was off-kilter. He started asking himself why he had forsaken creativity for the sterile confines of corporate success. Was it fear of failure? An escape from vulnerability? Each question was like a stone thrown into a still pond, rippling expansively. One evening, Jack finally took the plunge, making his way to an art supply store, something he hadn't done in years. The shop was bathed in warm light, overflowing with vibrant colors and supplies that ignited long-dormant memories. He found himself standing before vivid paint tubes, recalling the thrill of mixing colors, the anticipation of a blank canvas ready to capture a piece of his soul. His heart raced as he picked up brushes, running his fingers across the bristles. This tactile sensation seemed to awaken the embers of his past. He glanced at the canvases stacked against the wall, inviting yet intimidating. Would he channel the courage he saw in Lily? The decisions felt equally liberating and paralyzing. That night, he returned home with several supplies, the weight of choice invigorating him. His studio was a menagerie of unfinished ideas, a shrine to aspirations long since set to dust. As he arranged the supplies, a question hung in the air: is this what the awakening felt like? When he finally took the brush in hand, it felt foreign yet comforting, the wood warm against his palm. He hesitated, unsure where to begin, lost in the cacophony of his own swirling doubts. As the brush met the canvas, the stroke wasn't smooth. Instead, it was shaky and uncertain, mirroring the tumult inside him. He painted a simple representation of a cityscape, shadows and shapes blending in a chaotic harmony. Yet, amid the turmoil, he sensed a pressure lifting, an old friend returning. With each brushstroke, he navigated through layers of rediscovered desire and fear. The artist within him began to surface, hidden dreams were gradually unfurling. What had once been a mere hobby now felt like a lifeline, a way to reconnect with that part of himself buried under ambition and dread. In the days that followed, he carved out time to explore this path, crafting not only for himself but also for Lily, figuring out how to genuinely support her in cultivating her craft. They exchanged messages about techniques, sources of inspiration, and the nature of their fears surrounding creation. For Jack, seeing Lily's small successes ignited flames of determination to charge forward, both for himself and for her, but this newfound connection also posed challenges. Jack confronted his fears head-on, every interaction marked by an intensity born from the weight of unspoken worries. Vulnerability was terrifying, not just in creating art, but in forging relationships grounded in sincerity. One night, he texted Lily about meeting for coffee to discuss her artistic aspirations. He needed her to know he believed in her, and oddly, in doing so, it brought encouragement to himself. The anticipation clawed at him. What if her dreams weren't worth saving, or what if she deemed his efforts insincere? As he waited at a local cafe, Jack shifted in his chair, wrestling with a growing unease. Only time would tell if they both could navigate this uncharted territory toward rediscovery and renewal. Suddenly, he felt an almost physical pull, nudging him to confront whatever lay ahead. What awaited when their worlds collided in shared dreams? Could he rise from the ashes of his own demise as an artist, or would the past continue to haunt him like a shadow that would not fade? The door swung open, and Lily stepped inside, her gaze scanning the room before it landed on him. Jack felt the air shift. This meeting was a gateway. Would they both step through together or retreat back into comfort's embrace? The bell above the cafe door chimed softly as Lily approached, illuminating Jack's world with an unfamiliar yet welcome brightness. As she settled into the chair across from him, he felt an electric jolt of anticipation mixed with trepidation. Her presence was a reminder that this wasn't merely a meeting over coffee. It was the moment they would either venture into vulnerability or tiptoe back into the safe confines of superficiality. "Hey, sorry I'm late," Lily began, brushing a few stray curls behind her ear, her voice laced with warm sincerity that struck Jack's heart. "Traffic was insane." Jack nodded, forcing a smile as he reoriented his thoughts. He had planned this conversation multiple times in his head, wanting it to be profound and supportive but fearing it might unravel. "Not a problem at all. I've been looking forward to this," he replied, his throat tight. The weight of unexpressed hopes settled between them. Lily leaned in, her eyes glimmering with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. "I've been working on some new pieces." "You'd be proud," she said, her enthusiasm palpable. "Show me." The words spilled out before he could rein them in, a surge of genuine eagerness washing over him. Here was something tangible, her passion beckoning to be acknowledged. He pushed down his self-doubt, wanting to encourage her, even as he struggled with his own uncertainties about art. "Really? You want to see them?" she asked, her surprise evident. "I wasn't sure you were actually interested." "Absolutely." Jack felt his resolve surge. This was where the cycle of mutual support could take root, two artists, vulnerable and honest.
I want to know what inspires you.
As they talked, he realized their conversation mirrored the artistic journeys they were both reclaiming. She shared insights about her techniques and the emotions behind her pieces, igniting a spark within Jack that had been dormant for far too long. He related to her struggle, her hesitations mirroring his own nudging questions about whether beauty could stem from chaos. "You know, it's a bit scary putting yourself out there," Lily confessed, her gaze dropping.
What if people don't like what I create? What if it turns out I'm not really an artist?
Her vulnerability struck a chord. Jack felt that same unsettling fear creeping up his spine.
It's terrifying, right? But creating is about risk.
It's not just the product, it's what the act of creation reveals about who we are. Lily looked up, her eyes widening.
Jack could feel the connection deepening.
This wasn't just a one-sided exchange, there was reciprocity to their fears. He was no longer merely an observer of her triumphs, he was a participant in the hesitations and breakthroughs they shared.
Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Jack asked suddenly.
The tremor in his voice surprised him. It had been weighing on him, a question about his own choices, the safety he had embraced in his career choices over the years. He felt compelled to share.
I mean, like there's a part of you that knows you've settled for less than you're capable of? Lily's expression shifted, recognition washing over her.
All the time, she admitted quietly. It's like being locked in a glass box. Everybody can see you, but you can't break out. Jack's heart raced as he contemplated this shared struggle. It was as if they were peeling back layers they both had grown accustomed to wearing. He swallowed hard, fate steered toward a profound intersection. What if we could both break out, together? The idea sparked impassioned clarity within him.
Would you consider collaborating on something? A project that merges our abilities, our experiences? Lily's eyes lit up, the fear momentarily forgotten. Can we really do that? Together? Yes, Jack affirmed, feeling lightness in the confession. This can be something more than an escape. It could be an exploration.
But as excitement bubbled between them, a shadow of doubt crept in.
Could they truly confront their fears together without slipping back into their old patterns of hesitation? Jack felt a familiar pang of
fear as they discussed potential projects, visions swelling in their minds yet intertwined with silent trepidation. Would collaborating really lead them to liberation or expose their vulnerabilities further? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the cafe, Jack wondered whether they could truly embrace the risk of creation, not just for the sake of their art, but for their burgeoning relationship. In that moment, as they exchanged glances filled with both hope and uncertainty, Jack understood something vital. Both of them were on the precipice, a fragile balance between the known and the unknown.
He took a deep breath, knowing the choice before them was a momentous one.
This was more than just art, it was a decision to pursue a shared destiny, a doorway inviting them both to leap, but would they take the plunge?
Lily, the time has come to face. Jack felt his heart quicken as he ventured deeper into this delicate territory.
Just as he was about to finish his thought, the cafe door swung open once more, and a gust of cool air interrupted them, scattering the warmth they had built. It was a brief distraction, but an unwelcome one, and he quickly returned to the weight of his own unedited emotion.
"Face what?"
Lily prompted, eyebrows raised, her eagerness battling against her unease.
"Face our own fears. No, confront them head-on. What if we created something that mattered to us, something that reflected our true experiences?"
Jack proposed, feeling as if he was offering more than just an idea but a lifeline to both of them.
Lily's expression shifted, considering his words seriously. "What would that even look like? What if I fail? What if we fail?"
Realizing that this wasn't just about art but about personal evolution, Jack took a moment to respond, allowing the gravity of their situation to settle.
"But isn't that the point?
Every failure is a step toward understanding, toward growth.
I'm tired of living a life dictated by fear."
He saw the flicker of recognition in her eyes, a spark that mirrored his own resolve.
She inhaled deeply, contemplating. "You mean risking our reputations as artists, for honesty?" "Yes. Exactly.
We can't hide behind brushes and palettes any longer, not if we want our work to mean something. The notion of stripping away layers felt exhilarating, and he sensed Lily was beginning to catch the current of their conversation.
"What about that mural project downtown?"
she asked, tapping her fingers absent-mindedly on the table.
"People want something bright, hopeful. There's always room for deeper meaning beneath the surface.
Imagine infusing that with our own stories, our fears, triumphs. It could be raw, unfiltered, like a true reflection of who we are." Lily leaned back, her gaze not on him but on the cafe window, examining the shadows of those outside, drifting, disengaged.
"You really believe that art can come from our vulnerability?"
"I don't just believe," Jack pressed, feeling a conviction building inside him.
"I've experienced it.
It shows us truths we often overlook: pain, growth, connection."
How can we truly connect with others if we're running from our own narratives? Slowly, he watched as doubt danced in the corners of her brow. What if the world sees our attempts as failures? What if this venture makes us even more vulnerable, more exposed than we already are?
Her concerns resonated deeply, for Jack had wrestled with the same thoughts.
Then we embrace it. This is the way forward, learning to face the judgment, the potential failure. We can't let fear dictate our lives anymore.
His own words ignited a spark within him, suddenly clearer in their purpose. Every hesitation they had shared painted a vivid picture of their struggles, and that boldness could be their strength. Lily leaned in, her excitement tempered by hesitation. "All right, but if we do this, it's all in.
No more holding back. I want to try."
"Then let us dive deep," Jack urged, masking his internal apprehension. As they began to brainstorm ideas and themes, a sense of exhilaration washed over him. However, something else slithered in the specter of self-doubt. What if they failed to capture the rawness they craved? What if their fears vocalized instead of transformed?
Jack's internal battle grew.
He took a sip of his coffee, scalding heat mirroring the pressure building in his chest. Could he truly break from the mold he had cast for himself decades ago? As they exchanged ideas, the energy between them shifted, from apprehensive to daring. Jack felt hope swell, yet it was a fragile thing, grasping the edges of his imagination and pulling him onward. "There's one more thing," he said suddenly, catching her gaze. "I've got something to confess." But before he could share his deeper fears, the haunting doubts he buried even deeper than they had ventured, the door chimed again, a new gravitational force pulling their attention away. Lily bit her lip, anticipation glimmering in her eyes. As they turned to see who it was, Jack couldn't shake the gnawing feeling within. Though he felt exhilarated about their leap into artistic vulnerability, the shadows of past failures still loomed large, whispering doubts. One thing was certain: the moment of truth was unraveling before him, and soon, they would confront not only their art but the very core of who they were: fear, hope, and all. Jack felt a shift in the air, and as the door swung open, it brought not just the sound of dingling bells but the tang of reality crashing back into their bubble. The world outside resumed its hum, and he could see shadows, fleeting hopes, and dreams drifting past the cafe. He realized he had a choice to make: dive into the uncertainty that lay before him or retreat to the familiar confines of safety. Lily's expression, flickering with masked curiosity, anchored him slightly, but the unsettling thoughts began to swirl once more. What if their leap created ripples that drowned them instead of rising to the surface? The prospect of using their personal stories as the framework for their art felt like standing on a precipice, staring into the unknown.
"I need to say it now," Jack murmured, his mouth dry.
The words clung to his throat.
"I'm terrified of what's next. What if honesty leads us to a place that torments us more than it liberates?" Lily's eyes softened, and she nodded slowly. "It's the act of confronting those fears that counts." "But do you mean to say that facing ourselves could ruin us?" "Maybe it will ruin the version of ourselves that we're comfortable with," he said, catching the shimmer of determination in her gaze. "But perhaps I want to shed that skin. There's a broader vision for us, something that reveals truths not only about us but about those who resonate with our stories." "Your passion makes me want to believe," she replied, her voice low yet resonant. Encouraged by her affirmation, Jack took a deep breath, willing the tendrils of fear to recede. "If we're creating this mural, let us concentrate on pivotal moments in our lives, those scars woven intricately into our fabric. We can tell a story that resonates with pain, but also shines through with the hope that stems from it.
As they discussed potential themes, bricks of doubt began to erode. Jack envisioned vivid colors splashing across a wall, each hue representing emotions, moments, experiences. It would not be just any mural, it would be their liberation, but the nagging questions returned. Would the community accept such candidness? Or would they be judged, not by the beauty of their craftsmanship but by the vulnerability depicted within it? You know, we might alienate the audience we seek to engage, Lily pointed out, her brow furrowed in concern. The safe art tends to gain approval, bearing our souls might not be what people want. Then let's craft something that may clash but captivates in its honesty, Jack insisted, his voice stronger. Art isn't always about pretty representations, it's about connection. When we bleed on canvas, we create opportunities for dialogue, for humanity. Fingers intertwined, they began to drift through ideas, transitions from pain to triumph, shadows merging into light. Jack cherished this moment, it was validation that he could translate emotion into something tangible, something real. Yet, every surge of excitement was shadowed by the unsettling worry of judgment. As they sketched ideas on napkins, Jack felt the gears in his mind shift. He pondered the harsh realities of honesty, contemplating the depths of vulnerability they would plunge into. What he didn't fully grasp was how tightly woven this process would pull at him, revealing layers he had long concealed, even from himself. Their creative flow was ruptured by the sudden arrival of a figure who loomed by the entrance. Jack's pulse quickened. The newcomer, slender, clad in tattered clothing, eyes swirling like a tempest, seemed out of place amidst the warmth of the cafe. What if this person has a story that mirrors our own? He thought, that instinctive pull to connect flaring within him. What if they too know the depths of fear and longing? The moment seized him, adrenaline coursing through his veins. He turned to Lily, her gaze catching the stranger too, and they shared a fleeting exchange of understanding. Could this stranger be the catalyst for their mural, a symbol of the very transformation they sought? As the figure took hesitant steps closer, Jack felt the tension in the air tighten, the narrative shifting. He was on the verge of an encounter that would not only propel their artistic journey but would undoubtedly redefine their perception of vulnerability itself. What truths awaited them in the tumult of this unexpected connection? The path into which they would now step felt like an endless chasm of possibility, yet teetering on the brink of revelation. Jack breathed in deeply, ready to confront whatever came next. As the figure moved closer, Jack's heart raced with anticipation. The stranger's face, gaunt and weary, bore silent stories that prickled at the edges of his consciousness. Was this vulnerability they sought reflected back in someone else, someone who had not yet shielded themselves behind art or words? Lily seemed equally enraptured. The weight of the moment pressed down on them both as the woman stood a mere few feet away, her rough hands skimming the cafe's wooden table. Jack could see the age etched into her skin, lines that appeared to tell tales of struggle and resilience. "What can we do for you?" Jack found himself asking. The words burst forth before he could second-guess himself. Each syllable felt like pushing a door open to possibilities he couldn't fully comprehend. The woman looked up, and for a fleeting second, Jack felt the gravity of her gaze rip through the layers he had spent a lifetime creating. I used to paint." Her voice was soft, almost a whisper that danced on the air. "Not just for the sake of it but because it was the only way I felt I existed." Jack inhaled deeply, his mind racing. Could she be a lost artist, like him? Had she once found refuge, fulfillment, expression in portraying her truths? "Why did you stop?" Lily prompted gently, her curiosity shimmering alongside compassion. The stranger shifted, an unsteady breath emerging from her chest, laden with memories. "Life took me down a different path," she said. "And before long, the colors faded from my world." Jack's chest tightened. There was an unsettling familiarity in her words, echoes of regrets he buried deep within himself. "What if we could help you find it again?" he offered, an impulsive need to connect swelling inside him. "Your story could be part of what we create. It could help us all find color again." A flicker of surprise crossed the woman's eyes, but she quickly masked it with a cautious smile. "I'm not sure I have the courage to reveal what's hidden beneath. My truths are not pretty." This isn't about pretty. Jack felt the weight of his own fear momentarily dissolve.
It's about being real, about creating something genuine that resonates. You could show us how to be honest with our pasts. She paused, studying him with an intensity that left Jack feeling vulnerable in return.
It struck him then that vulnerability wasn't simply a burden, it was a bridge, a way to connect, to learn, to grow. In that moment, he understood that this unexpected encounter was not merely chance, it was a doorway.
If I help, do you promise to paint the truth?
The question hung in the air, thick with implications. Jack nodded fervently, determination surging through him.
I promise. Lily's warmth encapsulated the moment.
Their collective focus narrowed as they shared a vision, the mural not merely a canvas of colors but a tapestry of lives entwined, moments shared, fierce faced. As Jack jotted down the woman's details on a napkin that still bore remnants of their earlier sketches, he felt the old trepidation rear its head. Yet this time it was tempered with an electrifying energy of possibility. Could they venture into the murky depths together, storytelling beyond their own experiences?
Let us meet again, Jack suggested. We can show you what we've been working on, and you can take part in the journey.
As she nodded in agreement, a flicker of hope ignited within him. This collaboration could redefine not just their art but their understandings of connection. The stranger's story mingling with theirs felt like an unspoken promise, growth materializing within their reach. But somewhere in Jack's mind, a troubling thought surfaced. What if this partnership revealed truths about himself he wasn't prepared to face? The thought burrowed deep as their exchange came to an end, leaving him acutely aware that the embrace of vulnerability was a double-edged sword. Each decision carried weight, each brushstroke a potential revelation. Are you ready for this? He asked himself silently, fingers tapping a hesitant rhythm against the table. Jack watched the woman gather her things as the doubts spiraled, the beautiful risks daunting in their enormity. If their mural would become a canvas of honesty, what shadows from his past would it illuminate? The moment was ripe with potential, yet fraught with internal conflict. Would the truth he craved to express lead him into a deeper self-discovery, or would it bring to light a darkness he had long left buried? As the cafe door swung shut behind her, Jack steeled himself for the journey ahead. The decision lingered, suspended in the air like the last note of a song, evoking both fear and an unquenchable desire. What shadows lay in wait, destined to emerge from his own canvas? The following days felt charged with a mixture of hope and anxiety for Jack. Each moment buzzed with possibilities, yet beneath the excitement lurked the unsettling question of what truths might unravel in the light of their ongoing collaboration. He found himself thinking about the woman's vulnerabilities, how they mirrored his own unbridled fears. In the quiet corners of his studio, Jack threw himself into his sketches. An array of vibrant colors splashed across the canvas, but they lacked direction, muffled echoes of his dormant emotions. They felt like a surface sheen, a mask over his unease. Despite the cacophony of colors, a lingering itch at the back of his mind reminded him that he was dodging deeper matters. The night before their next meeting, Jack stared blankly at the nearly complete painting, shadows flickering in the dim light. Every stroke, intended to convey freedom and truth, felt hollow. His internal dialogue spiraled. Was he merely mimicking what he felt others wanted to see? What if vulnerability became a mirror, reflecting back the darkness he feared, chasing away the light he craved? The next day, an uncharacteristic eagerness pulled him to the cafe earlier than planned. As he waited, he felt the weight of his raw thoughts settling heavy in his chest. There was nothing comforting about confronting his fears, yet the potential for revelation drew him, like moth to flame. When the woman finally walked in, her presence anchored the chaos of his mind. Jack watched as she approached, hesitance in her stride. He could sense her uncertainty as she settled at the table, her body language dedicated to shielding her truths. "Lily," Jack offered, eyeing the faint bruises beneath the woman's armor of resilience. "We're excited to begin, but I think we should start with something raw, something real." He hesitated, wondering if he was suggesting they plunge headfirst into an abyss neither of them could navigate. The woman studied him, a flicker of understanding lacing her guarded expression. "Raw? You mean, like our fears? Our pasts?" "Yes," Jack breathed, the air around them crackling with the electricity of uncharted territory. "We're all artists here, not just with brushes. These colors mean nothing unless we infuse them with our authentic selves." Lily shifted, her eyes staring out into the distance as if searching for clarity among her own fog.
And if our truths aren't beautiful? What if they shatter the illusion?
I think we're all looking for honesty, even if it's ugly, Jack countered, his heartbeat picking up speed as he articulated his own vulnerabilities.
What good is beauty if it's built on lies?
You, me, none of us are flawless. The discussion unfolded with a newfound intensity, the walls around them collapsing like old paint peeling from the canvas. Each acknowledgement of their heart's pain felt like peeling back the layers that had stifled their creativity. The unfamiliar territory was daunting yet exhilarating, echoing the very essence of what they sought to create together, the mural not merely as a spectacle but a compass for shared truths. As they exchanged stories, Jack felt the rush of emotions surge through him. He trembled before the revelations, acknowledging the brokenness within that he had long labored to mask. Her honesty became palpable, igniting the courage within him to confront his own shadows. With each revelation, he crafted the narrative of their collective experiences that stood in stark contrast to the superficial joys he had painted before. By the end of their conversation, Jack realized they'd not only begun a mural but pressed the first strokes of self-discovery. But as their words settled into uncharted commitment, a pang of realization gnawed at him. Every brushstroke from here on out meant facing the side of himself he had avoided for far too long. What if the truths he discovered transformed him in ways he wasn't ready to accept? As they bid each other farewell, Jack peered back at the canvas that now felt like a reflection of his tumult. The shadows from his past loomed larger than ever, yet the vibrant truths they had begun to paint together shone like a beacon of hope. But would he have the fortitude to embrace it all, or would the darkness consume him? Chilled at the volatility of what was to come, he signed off his thoughts feeling a blend of excitement and dread. The next steps would demand more of him than he bargained for. The empty canvas stared back with the weight of his fears and aspirations intertwined. What revelations awaited him as he plunged deeper into the essence of his own truth? The days that followed their intense conversation were awash with a blend of anticipation and trepidation. Jack felt the weight of his revelations settle like a fog in his spirit. Each morning brought a new awareness of his surroundings, yet the colors on his canvas remained muted, as if the act of creation now demanded a deeper honesty he hadn't yet fully embraced. In the studio, he picked up his brush with the expectation of forging something profound, but all he could produce were mere echoes of his previous work. The once inviting palette stared back at him, teasing as it lay untouched. Each day spent avoiding the blank canvas was a day he felt the grip of self-doubt tighten around his chest. As the scheduled time with Lily approached, anxiety twisted in his gut. He drifted back to their shared moments, her vulnerabilities laid bare for both to see, his own revelations still a fresh ache. The connection they had sparked, while invigorating, made him aware of the stakes involved. How could he truly commit to embodying the raw truths they had explored together when he was still wrestling with his own ghosts? On the day of their meeting, Jack arrived at the cafe with a sense of purpose that clashed with the unease stirring within him. He could almost hear the faint whisper of resistance urging him to retreat back into the comfortable shadows of avoidance. But he had promised himself he wouldn't shy away from honesty. This was the very heart of their mural's intention. When Lily entered, she seemed different. A slight tremor in her hands betrayed a depth of uncertainty that spoke volumes. In that moment, he saw her not just as a collaborator, but as a fellow traveler grappling with her own truths. "Jack," she greeted, her voice wavering slightly, as though searching for grounding in her own tempest. "What if we start small today? More like an exercise?" He raised an eyebrow, curious what small meant in the context of their last discussion. "Like what?" "Let us sketch what we feel, not just what we see," Lily suggested, an idea forming amidst the apprehension that lay before them. Nodding in agreement, Jack watched as she reached for a handful of charcoal. It was a stark contrast to the vibrant colors he preferred. Charcoal demanded stark honesty. As they began, he felt the weight of each line they drew, representations of fears, dreams, and confessions etched into the paper. His heart raced as each stroke revealed something deeper, a history intertwined with Lily's own. Jack's sketch transformed into a tempestuous scene that depicted both chaos and beauty. It mirrored the duality of their emotional states, the thrill of vulnerable exploration against the backdrop of looming insecurities. Each mark was cathartic. He felt shadows receding, giving way to a new light that pierced through the gloom. Lily responded in kind, her strokes expressing a whirlwind of emotions that danced across the page. Looking at her sketch, Jack could see stories unraveling, suppressed memories, hopes, haunting fears bubbling to the surface. They were painting not just their own truths, but intertwining them, illustrating the shared narrative of two complex lives in search of acceptance. As their sketches took life, a sharp realization dawned on him. This tangible connection they were creating was a crucial step toward transforming his art. No longer was he a distant observer of beauty, he was a participant, raw and exposed, but amidst this moment of clarity, turmoil brewed just below the surface. Was this really enough? Did he possess the stamina to confront the shadows that lurked behind the emergence of this newfound creativity? Each line he drew felt like a battle, and the thought of fully exposing his vulnerabilities sent an uncomfortable chill through his spine. With the last stroke laid on the paper, Jack felt an inexplicable shift. The sketches lay between them, vibrant with potential but laden with raw truths. This moment was merely a doorway, beyond it lay further exploration, more painful truths, and the unsettling possibility of transformation. As they stood to observe their creations, Jack wrestled with the magnitude of their journey ahead. Would he be bold enough to dig deeper, to truly dismantle the facades he had built? Or would he falter at the brink, allowing the comfort of avoidance to pull him back into the shadows? With a heart racing in the echoes of uncertainty and determination, he pondered their next steps together. What might happen if they delved into the very essence of their stories, unveiling layers that had long been hidden? The days turned into an exhilarating blur for Jack as he and Lily sought to channel their voices into their mural project. The growing relationship between them became a lifeline for both. With each shared experience, they deepened their commitment to exploring not just art, but a story that demanded authenticity. No longer cloaked in pretense, they had begun to recognize the beautiful chaos of their intertwined destinies. In the studio, Jack made the decision to expose his previously suppressed emotions to the canvas. He'd long hidden them behind the corporate success he'd cultivated over the years. Each brushstroke felt like a revelation, a symbol of newfound confidence. This wasn't merely art, it was an unearthing. The vibrant colors reflected the passion that had lain dormant, flickering just beneath his surface, waiting for a catalyst. Their meetings quickly evolved from casual brainstorming to profound intellectual exchanges, laced with the urgency of personal growth. Jack meticulously examined the sketches they had produced, each representing moments of vulnerability. Those moments, though painful to confront, became the cornerstone of their project, a kaleidoscope of struggles and triumphs, hopes and fears, woven together to tell a story that might resonate with others. One afternoon, Jack stood before a blank wall, heart thrumming in anticipation. This was the moment they would initiate the mural, a physical manifestation of their artistic partnership. With a collective breath, he and Lily embarked on a journey that blended apprehension with excitement. They chose to paint a large cityscape splattered with colors that symbolized their most significant experiences: shades of gray reflecting sorrow, bursts of red and yellow portraying fierce determination and joy. As they painted, Jack felt the constraints of his former life pulling away, revealing a more authentic self. With each stroke, he broke barriers of vulnerability that he had built over a lifetime, accepting that real strength lay within honesty. He could feel the wall they were creating capturing the essence of who they were: flawed yet beautiful individuals, striving to escape the confines of conventional expectations. Then came moments of clarity when Jack would step back, eyes alight with realization. Every time he faced the mural, he saw more than just colors and shapes. He saw himself fearful yet courageous, turbid yet hopeful. The external validation he had once sought from circles of influence now faded into irrelevance. The recognition he craved came from the roots of authenticity that blossomed within. Their interactions and work took on a narrative of healing. One evening, as the last beams of sunlight bathed the mural in warm light, Lily turned to Jack with teary eyes. "This is incredible," she whispered. Her appreciation felt viscerally connected. Together, they had cultivated not just a project, but a living testament to their fears and triumphs. "Thank you for pushing me to confront my truths," Jack said, his voice strong yet filled with emotion. "It's as if through this journey, I've rediscovered the artist that I'd lost." Those words marked the final pieces in a puzzle that he never realized needed completion: a reconciliation of self. It was not simply about creating art, it was about reclaiming the aspirations he buried in pursuit of status. Lily's fearless pursuit of her own vulnerabilities had illuminated a path for him to step onto. The mural unveiled their stories, each detail filled with the delicacies of human experience. As community members gathered to witness and interact with the finished piece, Jack felt the swell of recognition that transcended superficial acclaim. He sensed the admiration and intrigue all around him, echoing not from status, but from the compelling narratives they had woven into their mural. In the midst of it all, it became abundantly clear that this project signified the transformation they both sought.
Jack had moved from uncertainty to a solid confidence in his capabilities.
He was no longer merely an architect of buildings, but a true architect of emotions, stories, and experiences. Through painting, he had forged a space where vulnerability spoke volumes, inviting connections on a profoundly human level. As the sun set on that jubilant day, Jack stood shoulder to shoulder with Lily, and a sense of personal achievement washed over them. This was not the culmination of their journey, but rather a new beginning, a solidified foundation on which dreams could flourish without suppression. He had embraced his identity as an artist, stripped away the fears laid beneath years of expectation, and risen anew. This was the moment when he finally proved to himself that self-acceptance would always outweigh public validation. Here was the acknowledgement of the depths he had once avoided. And as Jack turned to Lily, they both knew this was just the prologue to a story that promised continued growth and endless exploration. You need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories that delve into the human experience. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this culmination of personal transformation and healing.
Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others discover the power of vulnerability.
And growth. Comment below your own reactions and theories about this riveting conclusion. We want to hear how these stories impact your life.